Hey Mitchell, um, this quick video here is going to be a discussion on gradients and polygonal trajectories, I guess I would call it. Not sure if I'm using the correct word, but as we start out, we could take a look at two apparent circles that I've drawn in AutoCAD. If I select the left circle, it indicates points of center in the quadrants based on selecting that. I could bring up the properties dialog box, but it might kill this video, so I'm not going to go there at this point. But when I select the second one, you can see how I have all of these different highlighted boxes that indicate something completely different on the drawing. And when you zoom in, what you will realize is the square boxes are what AutoCAD calls an endpoint. The center section is a midpoint of that segment. And this complete shape is actually a 360 face polygon with angles in between each segment. And as those build, they would constitute a trajectory, which can be misinterpreted as a radius. The concept of refraction, which I pointed out as an angular event and not anything that constitutes radius, would fall in line with the idea of a gradient or a polygonal segmented trajectory through a series of medium that, according to the laws of refraction, would have to increase in the refractive index value as far as the density. That's why it would be considered a density gradient. Again, this starts just the concept of the trajectory based on rays and angles of what would create a polygonal trajectory. Now, I've also done some other observations in here, and this one would be the concept of a color gradient. And the color gradient would end up being what we would consider in this a atmospheric gradient based on height, top to bottom, with less dense air at the top and more dense air at the bottom, based on pressure as we discussed it last night. Again, if I take and select the 360 face polygonal circle, you would see again the different areas where refraction would occur. That's the boxes. Again, rectangles are just a midpoint of that segment in order to start creating a trajectory, and this would be based on more of a flat earth model where all of the pressure layers are planar, not concentric circles as you would see in depictions that are represented if you did a Google search as far as images of atmospheric refraction. However, the concept of the trajectory based on a polygonal trajectory, not a radius, is consistent. I took this a bit further and I started to think about the concept of the height of our atmosphere, and the only confirmation I could find as far as the height of an atmosphere would be how high the record is for atmospheric balloons. and I ended up finding that the current record, I think, is 170,000 feet. So we know something can fly in 170,000 foot air column. So we know that there would be something there at least, and that again goes with the thought of air will run out at some point in time and we would have nothing above it. Again, nothing, not a vacuum, but the space above that has no air molecules in it. Led me down a further thought process of trying to figure out the distance that the sun travels based on time zones. And I took a measurement based on time zones in the States from the border of Alabama and Georgia, which seem to delineate Eastern time from Central time, and then also at the corner of Arizona, California, and New Mexico, which is the transition from Mountain Time to Pacific Time, and that would be traversing two full time zones, which would be indicative of how would I put this? 2 hours. Obviously, it's two hours worth of time. Did a measurement on the distance in Google Maps that put the distance from those 2 points at, I believe it was 1,600 odd miles, which would be 800 miles per time zone. With that, I created the next view, which would really show what this atmospheric column would look like above a flat Earth over an end here, which would indicate the sun being at high noon in a column of air of the size I had indicated, to the length of travel over the course of 8 hours. And that would again being a day when at high noon, we know where the sun's at. Sunset would have to be at 8 p.m. This model would adjust based on the sun's position farther south. I mean, this would actually be Tropic of Capricorn, sun being the furthest inboard of a flat Earth model. But what you can see when I again take a polygonal structure through it, there's not very many refractive events that would need to happen in order to displace a sun that might be located here, somewhere above the atmospheric column, and would have to engage that atmospheric column at some point in time, either be reflected off of it due to its low angle, and if it's reflected off of that top layer, we don't get sunlight anywhere below it. But if it engages it at the proper angle, it will then start passing down through at a trajectory that would appear to the person at 8 p.m. when the sun is setting to really be very near the base level, which is kind of what we see as the sun starts going down at sunset. Atmospheric refraction, this is really just to put into perspective atmospheric refraction and how insignificant that is. Its only significance comes when we're viewing across a great distance when the sun is on the apparent horizon, or far enough away to where refraction at that low angle becomes prevalent. And this is something would probably cover in one of the more advanced sessions of what we would go through in the series that we could create. But the main point of this is to, understand that a circle may look like a circle when it could actually be, a circle may look like a circle with a radius, but this is not a circle. This is a 360 face polygon that is angular between all the segments. And if I were to go again into my draw box, where I'm at here, shapes, and select my polygon feature, if I wanted to do a three-sided polygon, that's a triangle. It's trigonometry in basics. You add the number of segments to the trajectory, and you create, the more segments create the more radial path, or what can be interpreted as a radial trajectory, when it's not. Refraction's angular. There's no radius in it. And this is part of what we will need to discuss and format into some type of a presentation. So I'm going to share this with you, I guess. I'll probably put it on my channel in YouTube and make it private, and try to figure out a way how I alert you to it. So this could be some of the stuff that we start to review. That's it. Talk to you soon. Bye.